Year 5 and welcome to your next English lesson. So today we're going to be looking at the active and passive voice. Now this isn't something we've covered very much this year. So we're going to have a look at this and have a see what we can do. Now I know it says Year 6 up here, but this is something that you guys also need to go in Year 5. So this is also appropriate for you as well. So don't think I've given you something too hard. So let's have a look at what it means. So just pause the video and have a think. What do you think active and passive voice might mean? Think about what you know about the word active, okay, and think about how that might link to someone's voice, okay? So just pause the video and see if you can jot down a definition for what you think active voice is and what you think passive voice is, and I'll give you a clue. It links back a little bit to our direct and reported speech. Okay, that's the only clue I'm giving you. Okay, so pause the video and have a go. So active voice is an active sentence. So this is when the subject, so the person or the noun in there, performs the action, so does a verb, okay? So that's when the subject performs the action to the object, okay? Now when it's the passive voice, so usually the active voice is when it's speech, someone's physically saying or telling you to do that. But when it's passive voice, the thing that would normally be the object in that sentence becomes the subject, the main part, okay, through the use of what's the passive form of the verb. So usually this is when you rearrange a sentence where it moves towards the end. So they often include like a prepositional phrase starting with the word by. Now it isn't always the word, but the majority of the time it has the word by, okay? So let me show you as an example, okay? So the plane is boarded by the family, okay? The damage was caused by the storm. Isaac threw a ball at the window. The magician pulled a rabbit from the hat. Helen practiced her recorder every day. The flowers were grown by my nan. Okay, so let's have a look at the first one here. So you've got the subject, so the main part is the plane. The verb is boarded, okay, that's something you do. And the object is the family, okay? So this here is what makes it a passive sentence, okay? Otherwise it would be the family boarded the plane, okay? Whereas this time it's the plane is boarded by the family, okay? And by is my preposition that comes after my verb. Same for this sentence. The damage was caused by the storm, okay? This is passive because it's telling us that something was done by, okay? Had it been active, it would be the storm caused lots of damage, okay? So here we've now got by, okay, which again is our preposition that comes after the verb. Now this sentence is a slightly different one because it doesn't have the word by in it, okay? So it says Isaac threw a ball at the window. Now if you had a look here, okay, Isaac threw a ball at the window, okay, also makes it passive. Now here we've got the magician pulled a rabbit from the hat, okay, so here we don't have the what's it called, the prepositional phrase. Helen practiced her recorder every day and the flowers were grown by the man, okay? So in order for us to be able to identify the different parts of the sentence, you need to know what the subject is, what the action is, and what the object is. So what is it that they're describing or talking about, okay? So let's sort some of these sentences into the correct place. So the plane is boarded by the family, okay? Is that going to be active or passive? Good, that's going to be, oh, we started over there, beg your pardon. The magician pulled a rabbit from the hat, okay? That is an active sentence. Had it been passive, it would be the rabbit was pulled from the hat by the magician. Okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Well, I want you to just have a look at all of them, the ones we've just gone through, and see if you can work out whether they were passive or active, and then we'll see if we put them into the correct box. So just pause the video and have a think which ones are active and which ones are passive. Okay, the only reason why I've forgotten which order I actually moved these into. So Isaac threw a ball at the window. Okay, had it been passive, the ball was thrown at the window by Isaac. Okay, and Helen practiced her recorder every day. Okay, so now if we have a look at the passive sentences, we've got the plane is boarded by the family, the damage was caused by the storm, and the flowers were grown by the man. Okay, so we can see how that makes them passive. Okay, had we changed them to active, it would be the family boarded the plane, the storm caused the damage, and the man grew the flowers. So you can see how we can change all of those sentences round. Okay, now here would be the recorder was practiced every day by Helen. So obviously we changed that around with our by. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick on a square. And what I would like to do when I pick on that square is it's going to show you a picture. What you need to do is write an active sentence about that picture. Okay, so let's pick this one here. Oh, this one's a dog. Okay, pause the video. Can you write down an active sentence about my dog? So I might say for that sentence, the dog had a bone in his mouth. Okay, that's an active sentence. Okay, I've got the dog had a bone in his mouth. Okay, so I've got my subject, I've got my verb, and I've got my object. If I change that into a passive sentence, I would say the bone was in the dog's mouth. Okay, let's pick another one up here. Oh, okay, we've got a child here eating his dinner, and he's got a nice chunk of broccoli on his fork. Okay, so pause the video and have a go. Okay, so here I might say Benjamin ate his broccoli. Okay, if it'd been passive, it would be the broccoli was eaten by Benjamin. Okay, let's pick another one up here. Oh, she's reading a book. She might have a nice, interesting book or a story or a fairy tale. Pause the video. Can you write a sentence about this picture? So I might say, Sarah was reading Alice in Wonderland. If I did it as passive, it would be Alice in Wonderland was being read by Sarah. Okay, let's do another one up here. Oh, lawnmower. Okay, what can we say about our lawnmower? Pause the video and have a go. So I might say, David went outside and mowed the front lawn. If I change that to passive, it would be the front lawn was mowed by David. Okay. Let's have a look at this one down here. Oh, we've got two children that look like they're playing a card game. Okay. Pause the video. Can you write an active sentence about this picture? Okay, so I might say this could be Sarah and Damien. Sarah and Damien were playing a card game. Okay. Passive, it would be the card game was being played by Sarah and Damien. Okay. Right, let's move on to the next one then. So, it is possible to change a sentence from active to passive or from passive to active, just like I've just done for all of those different examples we've looked at so far. But it's important that you do not change the tense of the sentence. You can't change it from past tense or from future present or present tense, okay? So we're going to have a go altering these sentences here. So on the plain, the lioness chased an antelope. So if I show you the first one, on the plain, an antelope was chased by the lioness. Okay, so you can see here it's still chased, it's still past tense. It wasn't on the plain, an antelope was chasing or was being chased by the lioness. I've just added the additional word there and kept the tense the same. See if you can have a go at this one. Harry ate sandwiches for lunch. So see if you can now turn this into a passive sentence using the word by. Pause the video and have a go. Okay, so sandwiches were eaten by Harry for lunch. Or it could be sandwiches were eaten for lunch by Harry. Okay. What about this one? The carrots are always eaten by my brother. Okay, now this time round, it's a passive sentence. Okay, the carrots were always eaten by my brother. So we need to change this around so it goes to the beginning of the sentence. So pause the video. Can you now change this one into an active sentence? Okay, so it would be my brother always eats the carrots. Okay, simple, easy peasy. Okay, so you now know that your new sentences here both passive and this one was an active sentence. So you can see how the meaning stays the same. You just have to switch them around. Okay. Now we're going to read these passive sentences. I want you to think, what do you notice about them? Okay. So the jewellery was stolen. The bicycle was ridden. The present was opened. What do you notice? What might be missing from my sentences? Okay. So we only have the subject and the verb. We don't have an object. It wasn't the jewellery was stolen by a robber, or the bicycle was ridden by Charlie, or the present was opened by Archer. We don't have an object in those sentences, do we? Okay. So because they all have the action, the subject, and no object, sometimes we can actually get rid of that prepositional phrase, that by, okay? But the sentence still makes sense, doesn't it? The jewellery was stolen. The bicycle was ridden. The present was opened. We don't need a by. We just don't know who or what actually then performed that verb. That's the only thing. Okay, but the sentences still make sense. They're still passive. So if you were to read out loud and go, well, the jewellery was stolen, well, by who? Well, by a robber. Oh, well, if the jewellery was stolen by a robber, That makes it a passive sentence. So even without the by Rob on the end, it's still passive. The bicycle was ridden, well, by who? Well, by Sarah. Oh, by Sarah. So had I added that on, it'd be passive. So sometimes we just need to have the action, the subject. It still makes it a passive sentence, okay? So now we're going to have a go at writing passive sentences. I'm going to pick 3 for this one so you can have a go at the activity. So the pizza. Okay, so remember we need to include the word by if possible, or just write it so you've got your subject and your verb. So can you write me now a passive sentence about this pizza? Okay, so I might say the pizza was eaten. There we go. The pizza was eaten. Or I could then use the word by in my prepositional phrase and say the pizza was eaten by year 5 because they've been eating lots of pizza for their fractions. So the pizza was eaten by year 5. What about this one down here? Washing your hands or running your hands under the tap. Pause the video. Can you write me a passive sentence? So I could just say the tap was running. Okay, or the water was running. Or Sarah the water was washing the hands. Okay, so we could change it to a passive sentence. What about this one? These children here playing on the computer. Okay, pause the video. Can you write me a passive sentence? Okay, so it could be the computer was being played on. Okay, or the computer was being played on by Charlie and Sandra. Okay, so I've got the word by in there. Okay, so can you write descriptions of these photos in the active voice? Okay, so what I want you to do is just pause the video. Can you think of 2 sentences you could write that could be active voice for these pictures? Okay, well, let's have a look at, this is my example. And so the children enjoyed climbing during their school camp. Okay, and then here I've got, they spent the day kayaking down the river. Okay, so those are just simple active sentences. I've got the children, so I've got my subject, enjoyed climbing, I've got my verb, during school camp, I've got my object. Here I've got they, my subject, my children, spent the day. Okay, that's the verb. Down the river, that's the object. Okay, so what I would like you to do now is I'd like you to have a go at this worksheet. What you need to do is be able to change the sentences from active to passive, okay, because I think that's sometimes the hardest one to be able to do. So first thing you need to do is annotate the first sentence and explain why it's passive. How do you know it's passive? Think about your subject, your verb, and your object. Those are the 3 key things you need to be thinking about when you're writing the order of your sentences. Then what I would like you to do is change the following active sentences to passive. So you need to change that. It could be passive where you have the by and the prepositional phrase on the end, or you don't have it at all. Okay, so see if you can vary it up a little bit. And then your challenge at the end is to write 3 of your own passive sentences. If you think that you can challenge yourself, have a go with your passive sentences that you write. See if you can write them in 3 active sentences as well. So those of you that know you should be challenging yourself, I want you to have a go at doing 6. So 3 passive at the bottom, and then see if you can change them into active voice. Okay, so have a go at that worksheet and see how you get on. And then on our grammar lesson for Friday, because tomorrow is going to be World Book Day, so we're going to be doing something slightly different. On Friday, we're going to be looking at using modal verbs. Okay, now you know your modal verbs because we did this in spellings before half term. So we'll see how you get on. So good luck with your worksheet, okay, and let me know how you get on. Good luck, year 5.